So now let's write our code for our merge function. So we'll start with our two sorted lists like this. I'll shrink these down. And we'll start this out by saying merge, and then we're going to pass it two lists. They both have to be sorted. And we're going to combine these two lists into a new list. And I'm going to call that list combined. Now, one of the key things here to figure out in combining these is you can't use for loops, because you don't know how many you're going to take from each list to begin with. We're going to have to use while loops. So I'm going to declare the variables for our while loops as I. We'll set that equal to 0. And that points to the index of 0 in our first list. And then we'll say j equals 0, and we'll do the same thing for the second list. And then our while loop is going to look like this. And this is basically saying, as long as both lists still have items in them, we're going to run this while loop. If either list becomes empty, it'll break us out of this while loop. So in this case, I is less than j. We'll start out with this to say if I is less than j, these two items, and it is in this case, into the combined list, we're going to append from list 1 the item at the index of I, like that. Then we need to move I over 1. We'll do that like this, I plus equals 1, and that moves I over. Now we're going to run through the while loop again and compare I and j. In this case, j is less. We're going to say else, and do the same thing here. Into the combined list, we're going to append from list 2 the item at the index of j. And then we need to move j over 1. We'll do that like this, j plus equals 1, and that moves j over. And as we continue to loop through this while loop, it'll look like this until that second list is empty. And remember, we only run this until one of the lists is empty, and that'll break us out of this while loop. So now we need to get the two items left in list 1 into the combined list. So let's look at doing that. We'll say while I is less than the length of list 1, we'll append those items to the combined list at the index of I, and we need to move I over like this, and then we'll do it again. And now list 1 is empty, and that breaks us out of this while loop. The other possibility is that we had items left in list 2, so we'll need an almost identical while loop for list 2 that'll look like this. So we'll run the first while loop if list 1 still had items remaining. We'll run the second one if list 2 still had items remaining. And now the only thing left to do is to return that combined list. So now let's look at this in with the rest of our code like this, and that is the entire merge function. So now let's go take a look at this in VS Code. So there is our merge function there, and I'll scroll this up. And then down here, we're going to run the merge function with these two lists and print out the result. So I'll run this, and that gives us a single combined list with all 8 items in order. And that is our function for merge.